Okay, welcome back, guys. This is a daily show. William Wood here. I am the creator of the Lifestyle Profits Academy, and I'm sitting here with John and Natasha Oakes, and they've come to share their wisdom. John and Natasha are entrepreneurs, and they spend their day making money online, and actually Natasha also is a successful real estate agent. And we're here today to do an interview. We're part of a lifestyle mastermind here in Costa Rica at David Wood's house, and we want to share some awesome value with you here today. And today, the main theme of what we're going to be talking about is overcoming obstacles. And John and Natasha come from a background where they really had to overcome a huge amount of obstacles to go from really failure to success. And we're going to let them tell their story here in a minute. In the meantime, I want to remind you, if you like the content that you're getting today, make sure you share this. You can grab the link, post it on Facebook, turn around, email it to somebody that you know. It only takes one idea to change somebody's life, and by sharing the content you're getting today, you can help somebody who's in the middle of a struggle to overcome it just by knowing that there's somebody else out there that's already overcome. And also, make sure you post a comment down below. When you post a comment, you'll be automatically enrolled in a contest to get a free book shipped directly to you. We're going to let John and Natasha pick out it. Do you guys have a favorite book that you enjoy reading? I should have asked you before we went live on camera.
Yeah, actually, a book I've been actually studying. You know, I don't just read them. I like to study a book for over a period of time. Is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz.
Okay, so there you go. We will go ahead and give you a free copy of Psycho-Cybernetics if you qualify and are chosen. So how you qualify is you write a comment down below, and then how you're chosen is we look for somebody who's really picked a really meaningful comment about 24 hours after the blog post is up, and if you're chosen, we'll ship that book directly to you. If not, you can go buy the book. It's a book that will change your life.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. So with that, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about your background? Tell us a little bit about your rise to success, your crash, and then your rise again.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in actually, I think it was like 2006, 2007 timeframe, we had started a financial services business, and we were running it at that time out of our home office, which was, you know, a good size office in our home. We started to staff up that business as we expanded to the point where we had, how many employees do we have in our house?
I think there were seven.
So 7 employees working out of the office. Yeah. So we had cubicles, you know, it was a very professional office space. But then we had our son in 2006. And as he, you know, approached the age of 2 and then 3, it got to the point where he was too much of a distraction with the employees. He liked to come in and sit on their laps and play games and distract them from their work. And so we decided, you know, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to move this office out of the house.
Right.
And so we started a process of searching and trying to find an appropriate office space, and we made a decision that it was going to be a smarter move for us just to buy a commercial office building rather than lease something that we didn't really want. So we went down that road and actually purchased a space. Took us about 3 months or so to find a good one, and we bought it. And in order to do that, we had to literally sink our life savings into this. It was a small business administration loan through Wells Fargo. We took about $200,000 of our own money and put that down. And then once we acquired the building, we spent another like $20,000 to $30,000 on renovations, tech upgrades like phone system, alarm system, cameras, you know, all of that kind of stuff, because it was a financial services company. And then moved our office over there in October. Was it October 2009?
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving weekend. We moved it in.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were super excited, right? Because this was a very high income producing company in an industry that was really growing. And we were, you know, making that move, and we thought, you know, hey, we've really made it. You know, this is the pinnacle of success for us. We were poised in 2010 to have the biggest year ever. And so, you know, everything looked rosy. I'm going to hand it over to Natasha and let her take it from there.
Well, and seriously, it was shortly thereafter that John realized that he had a job that he had to go to. He was used to working in the house and was no longer home. And so he was not very happy about that. But we went on a trip, and we came back, and in the mail was a letter from the state of Oregon saying that our license was no longer going to be renewed unless we followed this criteria. Well, essentially, we couldn't qualify for the license anymore. They had eliminated it. And so there was no way to continue the business that we had any way, shape, or form in that fashion. And so we knew that over the next coming months, we had to reinvent ourselves, or we were in a quickly sinking ship. Sorry.
Yeah, and it was the kind of business where we had built up a book of business over the course of the previous 2 to 3 years. So we had some income continuing to come in, even though we had to essentially shut that business down as of December of that year. And so we thought, hey, we've got a little bit of time. We need to figure out what it is we're going to do from here. And so we tried a number of different business models in that same commercial office space, even used some of the same employees, just kind of tried to shift gears. We did a few different things. We did some retail business, and then we shifted to doing a social media marketing consultancy, hired some different employees, let some of the other employees go.
And we flipped a bunch of houses in between there too.
Yep. It was, do whatever you can do to try and pull this thing back together and bring in the income. And it all just didn't come together. It was very stressful. And we reached kind of that point where the income from the financial services company stopped. It was no longer coming in. And so now it was like, now we're going to sink. And so we had to stop making the payments on that commercial office space.
So hard.
Very, very, very difficult time.
It was so hard, the finger over the mouse button to hit cancel on the auto pays for not only the mortgage on the office, but for the house. And it was so embarrassing. And it was it was just such a desperate, dark spot. Like, I can't believe we couldn't figure this out. We couldn't just make things happen in a new space. And, but we had a lot of high expenses and things. And so we had to have a high income. So we didn't pay that, but then the SBA started suing us, and that was pretty terrifying because we had collateralized everything that we had to make that office space work, to get approved for the loan. And so, I think even that winter, our beloved Labrador passed away. I mean, it was the darkest of dark spots, where you wake up in the morning and your heart is pounding. You can't really sleep because your adrenaline is pumping all the time. You should go run a marathon or something, right? And it was really terrible. So, but along the way, a friend came over and said, "Hey, Natasha, you should go in real estate. You'd be great at it." I made a quick decision and went ahead and went into real estate, and that would allow John to do what he needed to do, give him a break to figure out something that he could do. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, and it kind of gave us a plan. It was really a good turning point there, because all of a sudden, up to that point, we had no idea what we were going to do. We knew we wanted to do something different. We had to do something different, but we didn't know what that was. And so her going into real estate, we kind of joked about it and said she took one for the team, right? Because it wasn't something she wanted to do. She knew that real estate would pretty much suck her life away, which is exactly what it does. So what it did was it allowed us to sit down and really have some very candid discussions about where we wanted to go moving forward, and really decide what we wanted. And in really analyzing that financial services business that we'd had already, we really uncovered all the things we didn't like about it.
If I could back you up for a minute, because I'd like to come back around. I definitely want to come back around to this
Sure.
here in just a minute. I want to know, in the moment of this incredible stress that you had, what is it that you did to be able to manage your mindset and to keep your emotions up enough to be able to function? Because a lot of people just totally collapse when
And it felt like it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it felt like it. It really
felt like
did.
it?
It really did.
Yeah.
But I remember getting up in the middle of the night, and John had some other business idea. It was like writing ebooks online. And I was going through the tutorial or the training on it. It was like, we just kept searching, I think. I think that's ultimately at the heart of what allowed us to keep moving, is that we kept searching for something that would work for us.
You had hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we've always been business partners ever since we met. Everything we did together, and I think that it's partially coming out of that that despair, that low point. was because we both were on the same page and had that same attitude that we're not going to let anything stand in our way. It's just a matter of figuring out what is that next move. And so, like she said, we just kept searching and searching and searching, looking for something else to do, some other type of business model, something we resonated with that was going to allow us to, create the lifestyle we wanted, but not fall into the same pit that we'd been in with the financial services industry, where we could actually create freedom, have an high income producing business with unlimited income potential that we could work, part-time and still be able to continue to grow the income and do it from anywhere, where we weren't tied to a geographic location. At that time, our son was about 4 years old, I believe.
He's a young guy.
Yeah, very young. And we were already talking about, the school plan and all these different things. And we just didn't want to have the traditional lifestyle that we saw everyone else having, where they send their kid to school and then they don't see him until the evening. And then they get up in the morning and send him back to school. And, they don't get to do a lot of the kind of things that we wanted to do, to travel, expose him to things. We talked about homeschooling, but we didn't have the resources or the time to be able to do it because we needed to figure out where we were going to go with that.
Right. So what advice would you give somebody if they're right in a situation right now where maybe it seems like their entire world is collapsing in on them? It doesn't matter what field they're in, doesn't matter where they're at. What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, the first thing I would say is to dig into personal development, and what I mean by that is personal development books, audios, that kind of thing, because it helps substantially. Reading books like Psycho-Cybernetics, some of the other things you can do is like Tony Robbins' audio series. I had an old Tony Robbins, I believe it was Unleash the Power Within.
Nice, great series.
I went through that and just started, plugging that into my ears and listening to that. It was an old copy on CD, and I saw it on the shelf and I thought, I got nothing to lose. I need to start listening to this again. And that kind of stuff helps, just keeping the positive things going into your head will really push out the negative stuff.
So you've been talking about Psycho-Cybernetics a couple of times. We weren't going to talk about that when the interview started, but this is a great segue. What's one idea in Psycho-Cybernetics? Because you said you've been studying the book. What's one idea that's really had just like a major dramatic impact on you?
Great question. The biggest thing and the thing that I continue to use is the visualization techniques. And something that I do is every night when I go to bed, I just kind of have this, time where I close my eyes. I've always been somebody that had kind of a difficult time going to sleep.
Right.
And so I utilize that time by closing my eyes and thinking about things that I want to solve. So it's some negative things that I'm thinking about, but I'm thinking about them in a positive way and in the solution-based thinking. And usually what will happen is I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have a solution to that, or I'll have ideas and, positive thoughts that will help me move past it.
Yeah, nice. So focusing in on if you look at a problem, asking yourself what are the solutions, and then spending some time in visualization has helped you out. What about you, Natasha?
So I haven't been reading that book as much,
any book.
For Connor. I like accounting books.
You like accounting books? Well,
I know. It sounds very funny.
No, it's awesome. I love it. But actually, I want to back up. I want to ask you a different question. That's cool. I have my own inner nerd that comes out on the topics I'm interested in. But Natasha, tell me a little bit about what advice you'd give someone if they were in their darkest hour and they were looking forward towards a solution.
I think I know it's so hard to say keep the hope up, that something will happen. I just kind of come programmed with that, I guess. But I think really take account of what kind of resources that you have. And, if it be your family or friends or someone, close to you, your group around you, and find out how they can help you move past that as well. If it's a dark moment of not knowing what you're going to do for a career, let's think of a list of things that you can do or you'd be interested in doing and start moving in that direction and seeing if it's something that you could do. If it's a darkest moment for some other kind of thing, that's when your friends and family can really step in to help you and raise you up. I have to say that even in our darkest moments, we did always have our family, and they, it felt like we were drowning because we were so self-sufficient, but truly we could have moved in with my parents. We
would have been
could-
painful, probably.
It would have been painful, but we
Yeah.
could have done it, and we had that support. And then when you start sharing what's happening, you find out that the friends you've been keeping it from, right, they're willing to step in and help as well, whatever they could do to help.
Sure. Now, this is a good place to go ahead and pause our first episode. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit about how they got out of it and like what the solutions were and some of the journey that they went. And that's what John started just a minute ago. But here's the main reminder that I want to bring to everybody back home, and that is, if you look at anybody who's been successful, I actually don't know an exception to this, and I've coached thousands of people at this point. Everybody who has ever been successful has been in the valley of the shadow at some point. And these two had hope naturally wired into them. There's an ancient saying that says that belief comes from hearing. And one of the best ways that you can build up your hope, if you're in a dark moment, if you're in a place where everything's falling apart, or it's just fallen apart, or maybe it fell apart a long time ago, if you're looking for a way to rebuild your hope, one way to do that is to constantly, like John said, put new information into your ears, into your eyes, that's going to support you on that belief pathway. And that's exactly why we have the Daily Show. The Daily Show is designed 5 days a week to put positive input into your ears, positive input into your eyes. It's designed to lift you up and inspire you. Sometimes we do hardcore business training. Sometimes we're doing mindset work. Sometimes we're talking about interpersonal relationships. Sometimes, like today, we're telling a story. But every time we do it, we're thinking about you. And what we want to do is we want to bless your life. So if you like the content that you got today, right below our feet here, right down over here, there's going to be a button, and that button is going to allow you to get access to the Daily Show directly into your inbox. So make sure you put in your name and your best email address, and when you do, you'll be subscribed to the Daily Show. We'll send you out a daily notification Monday through Friday when we put out a new show. In addition to that, there's going to be some bonuses for signing up today. First bonus is you're going to get a PDF download of the transcript of what we've done here today, which is super cool. That way you can go back and you can read it. I know for me, I learn differently when I read than when I hear. And so it allows me to learn the material in a new way. It also allows you to really reprogram your subconscious mind in a new way. In addition to that, you're going to get an MP3 download so that you can re-listen to the Oaks tell their story on the fly while you're jogging, while you're driving, or while you're on your way to work, or wherever you happen to be going, on your way to your business, taking care of clients. So with that, I'm going to encourage you to do that. In addition to that, because you're here today, I'm going to give you a bonus training just for putting your name and best email address in an email. There's a 50-minute training that teaches you how to use your words to reprogram your mindset. Visualization is one of the big tools, so Psycho-Cybernetics is a great book to go out and buy. And learning how to do affirmations in a way that creates a mindset shift is something that you get just by opting in. So we're glad you came in today, and we'll see you guys again. Well, for me, it'll be just like a minute, but for you guys, it'll be tomorrow, and we're looking forward to hearing the rest of your story.
Thank you.